I say this all the time. The idea of how we socialize boys into men. I mean, it's an ongoing thing in my mind. It's like I've seen it, I know it, and yeah, it is so much based on fear. It's so much we do not want boys to have any type of energy associated with femininity. You cannot be feminine. You cannot be sensitive. You cannot have any of the traits that resemble anything associated with a woman.
What up? What up? What up? What's up? Welcome to another podcast with Cole, Tasha, and your boy Shon. Man, welcome. Come on in.
What's up, everybody?
What's happening?
I'm not. I'm just trying to get ready for the day.
Oh, see, so you doing that again? Right?
You gotta get prepared. You never know what's going to happen tonight.
Did you make that IG page yet? Like I told you, make an IG page for just the beard.
I got it. That's what I need to do.
He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that. He's not
What's
gonna
up,
do
y'all? How y'all been, man? How the week been?
Mine been a doozy. I'm gonna just keep it 100. You know what I mean? Mine been a straight up doozy, man. I got a new cohort of fathers, man, and we contacted the moms today, and I'm just keeping 100, man. I'm a little I don't know how to feel, man. 5 of the 7 mothers I called were in domestic violence, very abusive relationships. And this pivots my cohort. Man, this may have to refocus the focus, man. I wasn't expecting that. But I realized, man, COVID, man, really exposed a lot of stuff, man. The stories that I'm hearing, man, and the pain, and I got an intern, right? And I had her, trying to train her, and I had to call one of the moms. But it was so overwhelming, man. Like I had to intervene. I didn't step in, but I was like, whispering, like, see if I can call her, after this, because I want the females to call the moms. And I had to get on the mom because I could tell she was triggered, man. I could tell she was going through, and the young lady really couldn't get her back, into that place of being back in the solace. And man, I had to, let her know, like, this is what we do. This is how we rock out, holding them accountable, man. But how can we help you? I just wasn't really expecting that, man. It just was. I'm just telling you that was my day. You know what I mean? That was my day, man. So I'm a little overwhelmed. Trying to come up with a plan and a strategy how I'm gonna work with this new group, man, because it's not all of them, but the first 7 we called, 5 of them, one was like, dude kicked her down the steps while she was pregnant, like, dude. So yeah, man. So welcome, happy Thursday, right? Happy.
Yeah.
Man,
no. That's a lot.
Man, Shon, please take care of yourself. Somebody sent me something through Instagram that was really powerful. They were like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you doing mentally? On a scale from 1 to 10, how are you doing physically? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you doing emotionally? And I just thought, wow, I don't think I've ever had anybody take the time out to ask me those 3 questions and then have me doing an assessment of myself. But once I did that, it allowed me to take a moment to kind of gauge where I was at emotionally. And so I just want you to know, man, take the time you need, continue to take those deep breaths, but recognize, man, there's only so much, again, that we all can do. So make sure you're taking care of yourself through this process.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But Miss Tosh, your background is fire. I see all of those books back there, those best-selling books. Look at that. Everybody, if y'all don't know, I mean, everybody in the world knows, but, Tasha is a best-selling, author. Like, she is killing the game.
Shon always make me sound better
Whatever. She is killing the game, man. She is killing the game. You see those
Thank
books
you.
back there.
And and you could tell that was the first thing that caught my eye. And I'm like, man, you got the right colors. You know what I'm saying? I could have been on the wall back there with you. You know, Shon ain't looking. Shon don't see my.
What you say?
With my do-rag.
No.
Okay, never mind.
You can't do that. I'm
It
trying to
was the
share.
colors for me,
But
I'm trying to.
Shon, it would match though, Shon.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Shon,
No.
you don't see it. You don't see it.
It's the same shade of orange, Shon.
I see that same shade, but I do not want him to do it. He look like a biker. He gonna look like a biker for real. So let's get it, man. So Taj, man, you hit me up yesterday with a text. Yo, so what's popping, man? What's on your heart? I got a video that we gonna share. So if you want to set this up, talk to me.
Okay, so I'm sure by now a lot of people have seen the video because it's been circulating, and now I see they didn't even added some music for entertainment.
And I didn't even add the music. Just letting you know, I didn't add the music.
When you showed it, I'm like, Shon, did you do that?
No.
Shon put that music in there.
I promise you I didn't. I promise you.
Because that music just added a whole nother element to the video. But so the video is of this little boy. So apparently, from the story that I got, his father teaches a pole dancing class, an aerobics class. So he has the pole at their home. And so both of the little boys play on the pole all the time. And the little boy in particular, can move and up and down the pole and everything. So in this video, he's doing some of the moves on the pole. It's completely innocent. The little boy got the biggest smile on his face. He is having a ball. And people in these comments were eating that sweet little baby up.
All right, so let's get let's roll the tape. Let's roll the tape.
Oh my God.
No, I don't want to show that. I want to show this one. See, there we go. Okay.
The music throws me off.
Yo,
it's the music that got me messed up. What times ago?
Yeah, her internet. So listen, man. All right, I never seen that video, and so listen. So Tasha's question to me was, which is in the comments, right? Is does absent father? So in this case, my man, as what she said, my man is there. But as it relates to as absent fathers, so the question is, does absent fathers cause or contribute to the lack of masculinity in the home? And so using this poll, right? Because if you look at it, let me show this again, bro. If you look at it, the title, they said, is this gender equality or a sign that the father is absent in the home, right? So that's what that's what they're saying. Is this gender equality or a sign that the father is absent in the home? So before Tasha comes back, like, what is your perspective? You silent, and you're not frozen. Talk
I'm
to me.
frozen.
No, you're not.
I'm frozen.
Unfroze yourself.
So, so first of all, I think what throws people off is the pole and a little boy on the pole. And I think what throws people off is what's typically associated with that type of pole and seeing a boy on the pole. So I can understand your knee jerk reaction is like, wait, what's happening here? But again, that is a part of our culture. We have a knee jerk reaction without doing the true investigative work. Because I think Tasha just told us that it was more to the story than just that. So my initial reaction would probably be like, wait, what's going on? Why the
She,
baby on the pole
she,
dancing like that?
she's back though.
It's Tasha back. But then after you say that, right? But when I've actually seen those same types of moves in gymnastics with boys. You know what I'm saying? When they got the what is it? I don't even know the name of it. The ring and the, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
No,
it's the pole. It's the pole that's got people thrown off, right?
yeah. I
And
think.
it's in their mind. If they grown-ups try to sexualize kids' actions, and the kids are not even thinking nowhere near on that level that the grown-ups are thinking on. It's like, stop trying to sexualize every single thing that kids do, because that's what's happening.
That's true, right? That's true though. That's true, right? But I want to say this, that but the question, on that image is this gender equality or a sign that the father is absent in the home, right? So in this case, Tasha gave us some context. But what if the father wasn't at home, or if the father is not in the home, right? This poll is one thing. So my question is, is because if the father is not at the crib, does that automatically, or does that contribute to men not being masculine, or whatever the case? Let me see. Brandon said, I see more masculine behavior in this activity because he doesn't understand the true use of the pole. And that's what you was just saying, Cole. That's what both of you was just saying.
I think that, and I think Tasha's right. We sexualize everything, and then I'm like, for me, that's modeling. Somewhere he saw that, whether it was a mom, whether it was a dad, he saw that as an activity, and he found it, and he loved it, and he's playing. I'm like, it just bothers me that it always has to go back to the absence of a father or gender equality or something in that realm. Where why can't it just be a kid having fun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true, right? But I want to speak for those out there. So why do people have a hard time? Why do you think people have a hard time, with it? Because both of you are just like, yo, it's nothing. But there's people who have a real problem with that.
Because boys are not supposed to be swinging on anything other than a tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's acceptable. Now, don't even get me started on that. We're talking about black and brown people swinging on trees, but that could be acceptable for us than a pole, right? But, there are certain things boys are supposed to do, and there's certain things that they're not supposed to do. And black boys definitely aren't supposed to do a lot of things. And one of them is what we just saw.
Yep.
So that's why.
Yep.
Black boys aren't supposed to be doing that. But if that was a little black girl, there might be the same comment. It would probably read, her father is absent and her mama is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say.
What part? What part?
If it was a little girl, it would be more about the mother. People would have so much to say about what this mother is doing in front of the daughter, and what the mother's occupation must be, and so. But to me, it's always I don't understand why him being on the pole. Why was the automatic assumption was his father is absent? I don't even know how we correlate the two.
Oh, go ahead, Cole.
Sean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Sean. Because I was gonna say, well, if we understand the role of a father, then we would know no father would allow his son to be on a pole dancing like that. That would be that's why that's that way. No real father would let his child do that. Not at all.
And that's what the comments were saying. And there were a ton of, men and women equally had so much to say about this little boy. But then there were comments from fathers that were saying it was just completely innocent to them as well. But I think it has to go back to it just being sexualized. I can't even think of any other reason why we could find something wrong with a little kid playing on the pole. So if he's playing on the fireman pole at school, is that wrong too?
No, because see, the thing about it is this, man, is that, honestly, I'm gonna just keep it 100, man, and we can go as deep as you guys want to go deep. The biggest issue is that people are afraid of that little boy or little boys like that being gay. Mm-hmm. Right? They like, listen, because the father's not there, my man gay, or he's gonna be gay. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest issues, and I'll tell you, right. So since we're here, I had to be educated, and I think I shared this with Cole before. When my son went to a daycare center, and I walked in the door, and my son was playing with a doll baby. He was having fun. He's sitting there playing, and the daycare, lady, she saw the look on my face. And I look like, and she was like, Dad. And she said, we'll talk in a minute. So she had Levi get his stuff and the whole nine. And she educated me, right? Because she have a degree in early childhood education or whatever. Mm-hmm. But my perspective was like, yo, my son is not going to play with doll babies. Mm-hmm. But was she educated? I never raised a boy before, right? Because I never grew up, playing with him or whatever the case. But she educated me on just the development of children and how him playing with that would teach him how to understand and how to interact and how just started breaking it down scientifically. So she educated me to where I had a different perspective, right? It was where I was no longer afraid or going to contribute that, hey, just because my son plays with that, he's going to turn out like this, right? Because if I'm an active father or whatever, like he's going to do what he's going to do. My daughters, everybody, they going to do what they do, right? They their own free moral agents. I know what I want for them. They're going to make their decisions on their own. But just that one interaction, really helped me understand and removed some of that fear from me because I was educated, right? And so a lot of people, they may not be educated, and so they're afraid, so when they see that, they automatically associate that with that.
Have you guys seen the post with the all of the little boys who have been playing with the play kitchens? And those same comments were said, and so I think it is exactly what you said, that it's the fear and then people not being educated, because kids learn through play. And so if you have little boys playing with kitchens, it's a life skill that you're teaching them. And so, old school
B said, hey, that wasn't dancing. He said, and some of the fathers may even try that themselves, like swinging on the pole. They may try to swing on the pole, can't even swing. But what you were saying, Taj, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It's just letting kids just be kids. And I think that what I was saying was what you were saying about fear is everything goes back to, like, I don't want my son to be gay. And so if he plays with the dishes, the play food, he's going to be gay. If he plays with the baby doll, he's going to be gay. If he plays with so it's, and then you were raising these boys that are so aggressive, and because we're instilling all this in them, right, when they're young. And then we're raising boys that can't cook and clean and wash their own clothes. And so then women, instead of a husband or equal, they have another child because
Yes, they
men
marry a
don't
boy.
have these. Yeah, these men are without these skills because they weren't taught any of the skills as young boys.
That's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk. Yeah, I mean, so I do see, I do see the knee jerk reaction from those who's uneducated and who doesn't know. I do see it, right? So I try to see everything from both perspectives, or whatever the case. But the biggest thing is that we have to educate people. And so going back to one of your statements, what the topic is it's about that masculinity piece, and that's and that's tough. Cole, you are come on, talk to me, Cole.
Man, I say this all the time. The idea of how we socialize boys into men. I mean, it's an ongoing thing in my mind. It's like I've seen it, I know it, and yeah, it is so much based on fear. It's so much we do not want boys to have any type of energy associated with femininity. You cannot be feminine. You cannot be sensitive. You cannot have any of the traits that resemble anything associated with a woman or a girl. Like you just can't have that, right? And I think that that's part of the issue. And you can be super educated. I cannot tell you how many educated men of color and other folks that are non-colored that I have worked with that are super educated and still say things that are completely inappropriate and biased and homophobic. I even challenge the idea of like once folks get educated, no, it's deeply rooted. It's and many people, the mind is the destruction of the black family. There's so many rabbit holes that you could go down, and I'm often saying things like, when we talk about black boys, are we talking about all black boys? Because a lot of the things that I've worked in and discovered is that we are always talking about a certain type of black boy. We are not talking about all black boys when we talk about black boys. We are talking about black boys that we are comfortable around being around. And a lot of
Talk to
men
me.
are
No, no,
not
no. Hold on. You can't.
comfortable
You
with
can't. You
being
just
around.
talk to me.
They're not comfortable with being around boys that don't act like boys in their minds, right? And so that has been my work. And there's a lot of homophobia in the fatherhood field, right? Oh my God. I cannot tell you how many fathers and father practitioners that I've walked alongside and have been with them and heard them talk about, man, my son better not be gay. Oh, man, I mean, the list kind of goes on. So I like to challenge education because I think it's even deeper than education, right? But I mean, I see it all the time, and it becomes a challenge that I'm often faced with because I'm like, wow, man, why can't our children just be our children? Why do we have to have certain boxes that they can check off and have to be in order to be accepted? And our children are noticing that too, which is why we have the suicide rate is so up, it's so high, and we've got homelessness that's so high because we have not created a safe village for Black and brown boys and girls who identify under the LGBTQA umbrella and community, and we just have not. And I mean, we're working toward that, right? But there are still a host of things that need to change in that space. So I just get to the space where I'm like, man, you know, we got to stop. We got to change the way we socialize boys and girls. So that's my take on that, man.
All right,
I'm
so you went down this road. So
frustrated.
so my thing is, but there may be people watching this, and I'm gonna put out to you and Tasha. There may be people watching this like, yo, you ain't a real man if you are gay, right? Like, how can you be? How can you? How can you be this father, the protector, and you gay?
Well, Tosh, you want to tackle that? 'Cause that's just not real. I mean, because then we have to go back to what it means to be a man. And I know a lot of brothers, a lot of men that fit under the umbrella of protector and don't show up for the family, don't show up for the kids. They don't show up. So I don't.
You
Yeah,
know,
man.
I don't want to offend people when I say what I'm getting ready to say, but I think that a lot of this stems from the church, and and so it's.
Are you gonna brush your beard on that? You gonna brush your beard on that? You gonna brush your beard? Come on, talk to me. Come on, Taj.
Come on, Taj. You done took us there.
Oh no, she left. You see that? She gonna make that statement about the church, and then she gonna leave. Nah, buddy, we gonna grab you from the green room.
Church ain't like that, did
oh.
They ain't like that. They ain't like that.
Go ahead. I ain't finished.
I mean, it's the truth, and so the church gives us these roles. They assign these roles, and one of them we all know is the man is the head of the household, and all of these duties that the man. Women aren't even allowed to be, seen. We have different roles. We're supposed to be the ones that are cooking and cleaning, and men are the ones that are going out and hunting and bringing home the food or whatever. And so it's almost like unlearning all of these things that we have been taught and these roles that have been placed upon us. And like I said, a lot of it is from the church. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to offend anybody.
But this is the thing, right? This is the thing. I always, I think we could have very healthy conversations without offending people, right? I mean, if we're gonna grow, you have to have conversations that challenge people, right? Yeah. And I don't have to agree with you. I don't. You know what I mean? But I think I owe it to myself and to you and to everybody for us to be able to understand the perspective of other people, right? And I tell people all the time, the place that helped me the most is when I worked in a prison, because I was indoctrinated with one thing. Going to the prison helped me understand. Right? So it doesn't mean that I was converted into a Muslim or a Wiccan or whatever the case. But now I understand and I have compassion. I have empathy. They my brothers. They my sisters. Right? No judgment. Right? So, but that doesn't mean that, my practice is a Christian. But I don't walk around superior to any other faith. Right? Like, that is your path, right? And so, that's the way that I just view everything. And it's the same thing when we talk about, masculinity and homosexuality and all that. I know my preference. I know what I want for my children. But, my children is going to go down their own path. It's just like we all want certain things for our children, what's best for them, but at the end of the day, they're gonna make their own decisions, right? And so if that is the case, that if my children decide to go down a certain path, do I reject them? Do I throw them out? No, absolutely not. The thing about it is that we're supposed to, love all people, right? Like I told you, when I was in the prison, man, he's like, bro, I didn't send you there to convert. I sent you there to serve.
Unfortunately, there's now more people who think that way. And because there are, as Cole was saying, there are so many kids that are out here hurting because they have been shunned by their family members because they are not living up to the standards that they have set for them, because their boys aren't tough enough. So, you got daddies calling boys soft because they're showing emotions, and upset with their daughters because maybe they aren't, fitting this standard of what they think a girl should look like or what a girl should be doing. And so these kids are out here lost, confused, and hurting because they have no one to validate their existence. They're already confused about who they are and what they're feeling. And again, what Cole said, they have no safe space. No safe space at all, which is why they are turning to social media for validation.
Yes. And the thing about it, if you look at a teacher, the greatest teachers is a guide. The greatest teachers is a guide. right? If I'm going to be the greatest teacher to teach my children or whatever the case, I need to be, and I learned this from my boy Words, man, how he said when him and his wife used to, when God started dealing with him, he is like, God told me, like, you want to be the leader of this house? Well, you need to be the first one to apologize. You need to be the first one to show grace and mercy and all of these things as the man of this house. Like, if you talk about wanting to be a great leader, you need to demonstrate the very things that you are requiring of other people. Right. And I think it is extremely important when you talk about these kids who are navigating this space by themselves, is that if their parents would just learn how to be a teacher by just like helping the child process what they're thinking, right? Just to help them process methodically, like, how did you come to this conclusion? Because, a lot of times as a kid, you go from A to Z, you go from 1 to 100 and not knowing how to process. But I try to be intentional, right? And I don't always make it, but I try to be intentional about, especially my son, about having him process his decisions. Because I'm like, yo, you're going to be big and strong. And I need you, because you can be a weapon. And I need you to be able to control that and manage that. And I just think that's one of the biggest things, man, is that as a teacher, which is a parent, man, is that we have to help our children process those thoughts and not demonize them,
Yeah.
But most of
funny.
these parents were demonized themselves. And so they don't even have the capacity to help their kid process what they're dealing with and what they're going through, because they don't know how to process it themselves.
Do they not have the capacity, or do they not want to put in the work to unlearn some things? Because somebody confronted them, right?
I think it's both, and I think it's also afraid of being judged by other people, right? Because if my son is gay, what does that say about me? And so I think it's even more of a fear of what people are going to say about them than what people are going to say about the kid.
So Tasha, you just took us on home, right? Because you took us home because I think about my growing up and my mom, and that I am, so I won't say I am a sensitive guy, and so it doesn't take much for me to tap into my emotions. And I realized I used to be so mad at my mother because she would punish me. And verbally. And so her boyfriends, and there was all this pressure that she had around her that I did not necessarily recognize because my own perception. But what I learned over as I got older is that my mother didn't have the language, and she didn't know how to parent a child that was a sensitive boy in a world, in a community that she knew, me going out of that front door, I could be easily eaten up and attacked, because I live in an environment that you cannot be sensitive in, that you got to be tough, you got to be hard. And so it took me a long time to recognize that what my mother was doing was trying to protect me with what skills and language and abilities that she had to toughen me up by using the verbal aggression and the physical violence. But over time, and I resented her, but it took me to get a little bit older to understand my mother just didn't have the language, nor did she have the community or the village to walk her through having a child who was different. And I think so many of the parents that we work with don't have villages that help them walk through understanding the gifts that their children come with. And so they have been boxed into the way that society boxes us all in to fit a certain size and be a certain way to be measured up. And I just look back and like, man, if my mother would have had the support that she needed, she would have been able to adequately give me that because she loves me. But it took me a long time to recognize she didn't have it. She didn't know how to ask for it, and nor did she have the language. So how could she give it to me?
Yep. Man, that's good, man. That's good, right? I mean, because, even, man, Cole, that's so powerful, man, because a parent, right? It's hard. Listen, man, I talk to, some of my friends a lot, man. One of the hardest jobs is being a parent. And we all know that. That's one of the hardest jobs, is being a parent. You know what I mean? Because it's not only your child you have to worry about or be concerned about. It's them other jokers that's out there.
Yeah.
It's them other jokers. You know what I mean? You trying to instill, into your children to follow the rules and, you know, play fair, and then they run into some people who don't play by the rules.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
come home, they like, listen, you told me that 1 + 1, you know, equals 2.
Yeah.
Well, today I was out there, I did 1 + 1, I put 2, and the answer was really 7. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's really not. Well, everybody says 7, Dad. I understand everybody saying 7. The answer is 2.
Yep.
But let me just show you how they came up with that, right? I mean, so it's difficult, man, you know, to help them navigate, you know, that space as a parent, and you're concerned, right, that they make the best decisions, and then you're like, man, I'm just trying to, like my son, I put on a social media yesterday, that little joker, he didn't want me, you know, want none of my advice about, you know, talking to a girl, and I'm like, Joker, you know what I mean, I pulled one of the baddest girls in the world, you see her, that's your mama. I'm trying to tell you, I pulled the baddie. And he like, no, daddy, you corny. You know, so you know, that's that. But you know, like when we really trying to put them up on game, man, you know, a lot of times they don't want to listen, right? And so what happens a lot of times as a parent, we're concerned and we're looking at how are other people watching us? What are other people thinking about my parenting? What are other people you know, you missed the involved dad. Well, you missed the involved dad. You know, brother, you don't have any room for error. And so my thing was like, as a pastor of a church, you know, at one time, you know, I told my kids, like, listen, you're not going to be a PK kid. I'm not going to put any pressure on you. You don't have to live up to this. And told my wife at that time, like, listen, you don't have to preach. You can still go out with your girls. Yes, and I'm pastoring.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to put those, you know, those things on you because the same thing with this. And that's why I'm the first to show my wounds to let people know, yes, I work with dads. You know what I mean? But I'm still growing every single day.
Absolutely.
Right? So you can't tell on me because I already told on myself. You can't tell my wife because I already told her.
Yeah.
You can't tell God because I already told him.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I wanted to strip other people of for me and my parenting and the things that I do. I'm like, yo, I'm not going to allow you to put me in a box, man. It's not cool. Right? So my children don't want to do A, B, C, and D. Like, yo, I'm not gonna walk around my head down. Like, you crazy. You out of your rabbit mind.
Yep.
So it is what it is. So
I have to ask this question to both of y'all then. Do you feel like a woman can raise a boy successfully and he can be whatever masculinity is? Because I mean, to me, that can be all sorts of things. But can a woman raise a boy into a masculine man?
I have something. Cole, I want you to close out on this, and I'll say my piece. Absolutely. Right? But there's a but to it. It's difficult, right? Because if she doesn't know all the attributes of what a man, right? You know, if she has a the wrong mindset of what a man is supposed to be, now she's gonna be putting some of her twist and all that. Oh, this is what a man is supposed to be, right? So if she is, you know, putting all of this toxic thinking into this young man because, you know, boys don't supposed to cry because she think they don't supposed to cry, right? So I think, I know they can do it because there's a lot of amazing men out there who was raised by single moms. But what I would say is difficult, right? It's difficult to give him what he needs from that male perspective, right? That because when he go out with his boys and all, so he's gonna be missing that, right? So I think from a woman's perspective, I think it's very important if they can is to get a male role model or a mentor or somebody to give them that other perspective. And I think it's the same for a man raising a girl, right? It's difficult. I don't know. When my daughter came on her menstrual, yo, I was panicking. Like for real. And my wife told me, like, yo, she's getting at this age, this is about to pop. My wife was at work. My daughter was in the bathroom and she screamed, like, Dad. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I didn't know she
Yeah.
should wear dark pants.
Yeah.
I would have gave her some some light blue jeans.
Right.
Right. So yes, Tasha, I mean, in a nutshell, I know they can, but I just know it's still difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Cole?
Yeah, Sean, I think you said it well. I think, I think that it also boils down to the types of experiences that a woman has as a little girl with men. I think her experiences with healthy men or no men or whatever type of man that she's had access to, I think that carries a lot of weight in terms of when she has a child, especially if she has a boy and a girl. I saw what happened with my mom when she had my sisters. She was very, very protective, or better yet, let me say my sister is very, very protective of her children in terms of who gets access to them because of her experiences with men, right, in our journey. So I think my mother did the very best that she could in terms of raising me and turning, working to transition me into a man. But I think it also requires us and women in particular too, if they're doing this on their own, to be open to the idea of it not just being one man that helps raise your son, but it is a village of men raising your sons. And I could even say, as a dad raising boys, I had to really rely on a village too, and trust that there could be other men other than me that could step up and actually do the work that I couldn't do. You know what I'm saying?
I like
So
it.
I had to
Yeah.
rely on coaches, but it required me having a secure foundation in my parenting as dad to say, okay, it's okay for other people to come in and help me do this work. But I think when there are insecurities wrapped up in there, and you talk about shame, and shame does a whole lot to us, and then you wrap shame and fear together in a relationship and insecurities, and then you say I'm mom and dad. Oh man, it's a setup. So I think that moms can do it, but I think moms have to be open and willing to make sure that there are healthy men in the space to help them do that work. But then I think that part of that is that there has to be men in the village who also feel secure enough to be able to step in that role and help out as well. And that's
Yeah.
probably the biggest challenge we're faced with now.
Yeah,
So yeah.
man. And one of the things, man, I just make this statement. One of the things that I even have to, and my wife is very good with it now, man, is that, you know, how she communicate with my son, right? And how she challenge him to get him to make a decision or whatever the case, and raising her voice and things of that nature. And I'm like, listen, you have to be aware it's different when you talk to your daughters versus when you talk to your son,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you're yelling this way and you saying these things, right, he can feel emasculated, right? And that's not what her intent is, right? But if he feeling, so me being present is able to say, hey, 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 you can say the same thing, but don't do it like this, because this can cause him to feel emasculated, to strip him of his, his ego or his identity or whatever the case, right? So that's very important for us, to make sure that, moms, is very important to make sure that when you are talking to your sons, that you are being very intentional and being aware on how you communicate to not destroy his confidence, right? That's extremely, extremely, extremely important. And I think that, maybe
I
we'll
think,
tap into that, man. Maybe we'll do a
and I,
segment on doing that, man. Talking
yeah,
about, single moms raising boys,
and
I think we
and I
should
think
talk
that's
about that.
I think that same thing, Sean, has to go to dads too. I think that dads have to understand that there's a certain way they also need to be in that nurturing setting to help nurture their sons through and process through, like you talk about so eloquently, man. And that you don't have to always use this hard, tough aggression to get your son to do and be what it is he's trying to be. But then also don't make it difficult for mom and say things you get the boob out of his mouth. He's old enough to, I mean, all the things that kind of come with. So when mom says something to dad just shuts her down and says, "Oh, you're gonna make him this, you're gonna make him that." So there's got to be a two-way street to that in terms of like, mom, you gotta listen to dad, but dad, you gotta listen to mom too.
Yep.
Yeah.
There needs to be balance. It's
Yeah.
balance.
It does.
Because it's funny, the way that I talk to my daughters and sons is completely different, and vice versa. The way my husband talks to our sons and daughters is completely different. And there are some situations where I handle our daughters because he can't get on them the way that I can.
Yep.
He doesn't feel right, getting in their butt the way that I will.
Yep.
And he always said, I don't want to teach them that it's okay for a man to yell or raise his voice or talk, so he it's kind of like, he look at me like, you got that. And so, it's definitely, there has to be some balance.
And the dopest thing about all of that, man, is that, in this parenting thing, man, is that it's important to co-parent the best way you can. And I'm talking about, those living together and those that's not co-parenting, right? I mean, like, you know your strengths. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, or whatever the case. I was just in the car with my daughter, and she was like, Mommy, put my phone on downtime because I didn't, do A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, listen, man, you've been with your mama for 14 years now. You know how she get down, right? Yeah. So you need to, use wisdom on how you interact with mom. So I'm like, same thing with me, right? I mean, you need to know how you communicate and interact with the other person. Your brother can do certain things you can't. You can do, but vice versa, man. So it's extremely important that we know how to communicate with the other party and a co-parent the best way that we know how to co-parent, man. So I love it, man. This was a great segment, tonight. Listen,
I gotta say this too, because y'all just said something, man. You, between the both of y'all, as y'all described your parenting styles as husband and wives, what I did not hear any of you talk about is femininity and masculinity. You talked about how you communicate with your children, and I said that is the key. I think we got to get away from this whole thing where if you have a dad, that's the masculinity, you have the mom, that's the femininity, and we just get to, this is really about communication and having a healthy relationship with your children. It is less about all the rest of that stuff, because same-sex couples are doing it all the time, and so it's really not about that part as much as it's really about how you communicate.
Yes.
That's it.
And Scott says here, he says, I think it's tough for single parents and couples to raise kids because of the culture that restricts us to rigid gender roles. I think the biggest deficit a boy would have, I'll read over here, that a boy would have with the single mom is not be loved by a man. Wow. It's the intentional love of a father or a father figure that is different for a boy being loved by a mom. That's good. It's not better, but it deepens a boy's perspective on love. He can grow into a man and not fear loving his boys when he becomes a father. Young men are given such a narrow path for love. We need to widen the path. And let me tell you something. That's my mentor. That's my mentor. That's my mentor. And I'm not introducing you to him. His name is Scott Miller.
It's like that, Shon.
Yo, I'm not introducing you to him. Yo.
Here's the thing, Shon. You ain't got to introduce me. He just made his introduction.
Yeah. Yo.
He took it home.
That's it.
No, for real, man. Like, no, Scott is doing some amazing work, man. I met him at a domestic violence training. He is the guru. I call him the guru of domestic violence. When I went over to Minnesota, that's who my wife and I spent 2 days with him. And I called him today when I had this situation that I shared with you guys. I called him, and he answered the phone right away. you know, we laugh, and you know, it just started to give me some advice, and we're gonna continue to build that. But no, man, he's doing great work across, not just in Minnesota, but across the country and out of the country, actually, man. But yeah, Scott, he always have wisdom and dropping jewels, man. So yeah,
That was
man.
it right there.
That was good. In
That
fact,
was it.
maybe one day in the future we can talk about um, how, because we spend so much time talking about dads not being in the home and how it affects boys. And so maybe we could talk about how it affects girls, because
I love it.
he touched something in me when he talked about being loved by a father, because I don't know what that feels like. And
Mm.
so maybe if I did, I would look at things a bit different than I do.
Wow.
So yeah.
Maybe
We
this our
should.
next segment. Cole, I'm not giving you his number. I'm gonna call him and see if we can get him on. Right? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep you away.
Shon, Shon, I'm gonna tell you this, and I mean this from my heart, Shon. If he has access to you, and I have access to you, then I have access to him, brother. So we all good.
That's right, Paul.
Because through him,
Good
I
stuff.
get you. So
Good
it's all
stuff.
good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Listen, man, you know what? We don't even have to have a legit or not legit tonight because I think we
Yeah.
drove it home. But Tasha, next week you come with a legit or not
Gosh.
legit, and we're going to tap
All
into
right.
that boy. But yeah,
Okay.
man, this was good tonight, man. This was really
Good.
good tonight. Thank you guys for you know locking in with us, man, and growing with us, man. You guys stuck around, you commented. We appreciate that. That makes us, you know, inspires us, right? That we want to keep on doing this on a consistent basis, man. So appreciate you guys. Any closing remarks?
No, you knocked it out.
No.
All right,
Knocked
let's
it
get
out.
this work, man. Remember, man,
Yeah.
strong fathers build strong families, and strong families build strong communities. Let's get this work.
That's it.